The massive alien vessel hung in Earth's orbit like a dark knife against space. People all over Earth watched their screens in fear. No one had expected first contact to happen this way. In the United Nations Emergency Chamber in New York, Secretary General Park stood tall as the aliens spoke through their holograms. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the projection equipment. "I am Delegate Moore of the Talvan people," said the alien. Its skin was pale blue with patterns that seemed to shift. Its eyes, all 6 of them, blinked in different patterns. "We speak for the Galactic Coalition." Park tried to keep his voice steady. "We welcome peaceful contact with your civilization." The alien made a sound like quiet laughter. "Peace is only part of what we offer. Order is more important. General." Kim, standing behind Park, crossed her arms. She didn't trust these aliens, not after they had positioned weapons above major cities without warning. "Your species has potential, but lacks discipline," Moore continued. "Your history is full of violence. Your admission to our coalition comes with strict rules." An aide handed Park a tablet showing the coalition's terms. Earth could not expand beyond its solar system. The aliens would control what technology humans could have. Human military forces would be watched at all times. Park looked at General Kim, whose face showed anger, though she remained silent. These terms were not a welcome. They were a cage. "And if we decline?" asked Park. The alien's 6 eyes blinked one after another. "Then we will make sure humanity is not a threat to galactic peace." Everyone in the room understood the real meaning. The weapons platforms in orbit could destroy cities in minutes. Earth had no defense against them. 1 week later, Earth's government signed the treaty. What choice did they have? 3 months passed. Ambassador Lee represented Earth at the first major coalition meeting on a massive space station near Jupiter. She wore her best diplomatic uniform and tried to look confident. The station was filled with aliens of 20 different species. Some looked almost human. Others had multiple limbs or floated in special tanks. All of them seemed to ignore Lee. As she walked through the grand hall, she paused near a refreshment area where 2 aliens were talking. One was tall with 4 arms. The other had a body like a large caterpillar. "The humans are adjusting to their place well enough," said the 4-armed alien. "They have no choice," replied the caterpillar creature. "Did you see their primitive weapons? They were still using chemical explosives." Lee pretended to study her drink, listening carefully. "These sleeping primates will never understand true civilization," the first alien chittered. "Give them a few trinkets, and they'll stay docile." "Like pets," agreed the second. "Useful pets, at least. Their planet has excellent resources." Lee's hand tightened around her glass. She maintained her diplomatic smile, but inside she felt hot anger. So this was how the coalition really saw humans, as animals to be controlled. That night, Lee sent an encrypted message to General Kim. It contained recordings of everything she had heard. General Kim was already working. Deep beneath the frozen ground of Siberia, far from the coalition's monitoring systems, she stood in a massive underground facility. Construction had begun the day after the alien ship arrived. The coalition thought it was a research center for climate science. They were wrong. Kim walked through the facility with Colonel Yu, inspecting the progress. The chamber was enormous, with rows of special pods being installed by engineers. "How many can we prepare?" asked Kim. 500 to start, Yu replied. "We can add more if we get the resources. Each pod can sustain a soldier for up to 50 years if necessary." Kim nodded. "And the enhancements?" "Working better than expected. Strength is tripled. Reaction time doubled. Healing accelerated. The volunteers are already showing remarkable results." They stopped at a viewing window. Inside, men and women in training uniforms were sparring. Their movements were faster than normal humans. When one was struck hard enough to draw blood, the wound began closing almost immediately. "The coalition thinks we're primitive," Kim said quietly. "They think we're sleeping and docile. They have no idea what humans can do when pushed too far." Yu smiled. "When should we wake them?" "When the time is right," Kim replied. "The coalition believes we're harmless. That's our advantage." We'll learn, we'll prepare," And when they least expect it, our soldiers will wake. Project Hibernation had begun. The aliens would continue to mock humanity, not knowing what waited in the frozen silence beneath the earth. Colonel Sung looked through the window of her office at the red landscape of Mars. Earth hung like a small, blue marble in the sky. 20 years had passed since the aliens arrived. 20 years of humans being treated as lesser beings. The door opened and Major Han walked in. His uniform was simple and plain, nothing to draw attention from the Coalition, observers who sometimes visited the base. As far as those observers knew, this was just a climate research station. "You have the report?" Sung asked. Han nodded and slid a data pad across the metal desk. 500 soldiers enhanced and trained. The last batch enters Cryo-Sleep next week. Sung picked up the pad and scrolled through the files. Each one showed a soldier, men and women who had volunteered for the program. Each one had been changed, made stronger and faster through careful genetic modification. "This one," Sung said, stopping at a file. "Tell me about her." Han looked at the screen. "Private Moon, one of our best. Strength levels are 4 times human. Normal. Can run at 60 kilometers per hour for 30 minutes without tiring. Reaction time is twice as fast as our best unmodified soldiers." Sung studied the woman's face. She looked ordinary. Exactly the point. The Coalition would never suspect what humans had accomplished in secret. "Any problems with the enhancements?" Sung asked. "None that we couldn't solve," Han replied. "The early volunteers had some issues with their immune systems. We fixed that in the later groups. They're ready." Sung nodded and continued scrolling through files. "And the cryo chambers? Will they truly work for as long as we might need?" "The chambers are perfect. We've improved on the Coalition's own design. Each soldier could sleep for 50 years with no damage to body or mind." Sung set the pad down and walked to a large map on the wall. It showed the locations of human colonies, small dots on Earth, Mars, Venus, Europa, and Titan. Tiny places in the vast universe, but they were all humanity had. "The Coalition inspectors were here yesterday," Han said. "They spent 3 hours going through our facility." "Did they find anything?" Han smiled slightly. "No. They believe these are environmental research outposts. They looked right at the cryo chambers and saw only climate monitoring equipment." "Good," Sung said. "We need more time." The main screen on the wall suddenly lit up with a broadcast from Coalition headquarters. A tall, thin alien with gray skin and elongated fingers appeared. All Coalition announcements were translated into every member species language. "Attention to all Coalition members," the alien said. "The Kresh Dominion has broken from our alliance and begun aggressive expansion into the outer systems. All members should prepare defensive measures according to Coalition protocols." Sung and Han moved closer to the screen as a reporter asked a question. "What about Earth's territories? Will they be defended as well?" The official made a gesture with his hand that humans had come to recognize as dismissal. "Minor concerns. The Coalition protects all its members, according to their strategic value." The screen went dark. Sung and Han looked at each other in silence. They both knew what strategic value meant. Earth and its colonies had none in the eyes of the Coalition. "We anticipated this day," Sung finally said. "The Coalition has never valued us. They won't protect us if the Kresh attack." Han nodded. "Should we wake the soldiers now?" "Not yet," Sung replied. "We need to know more about these Kresh. If they're as bad as the Coalition, we might need to fight both sides eventually." She walked to her desk and pressed a button. A hidden panel in the wall slid open, revealing advanced communication equipment that the Coalition had forbidden humans to possess. "Activate surveillance protocol on all Coalition military channels," ordered Sung. "I want to know everything they're saying about the Kresh threat. The moment Earth is threatened, we wake our soldiers." Han moved to the equipment and began entering commands. "It will take time to break through their security." "We have time," Sung said. "For now." She turned back to the window, looking at distant Earth. The Coalition thought humans were weak, primitive, content to be second-class members of their galactic community. They had no idea what waited in secret bases across the solar system. 500 enhanced soldiers, sleeping until the day they would be needed. The aliens think we're just accepting our place, Sung said quietly. They call us sleeping primates. They don't understand that sometimes sleep is just preparation for what comes next. Han looked up from his work. And what comes next, Colonel? Sung's reflection in the window showed a determined face. Freedom, Major. One way or another. The sky above New Eden colony turned dark as massive ships blocked the sun. Governor Choi stood on the balcony of the colony's main building, watching as the alien vessels moved into position. These weren't coalition ships. They were something else. Something worse. What are they? Asked his assistant, her voice shaking. Kresh, Choi said quietly. The coalition warned us about them last month. Will the coalition defend us? Choi didn't answer. He had sent emergency signals to the coalition outpost 2 systems away. Their reply was brief. Repositioning forces to protect vital coalition interests. In other words, humans were on their own. The communications officer burst onto the balcony. Governor, they're sending a landing party. They want you to meet them at the central plaza. 30 minutes later, Choi stood in the colony's plaza as a Kresh ship landed. The door opened with a hiss of steam. 3 aliens walked out and people in the crowd gasped. The Kresh were huge, at least 7 feet tall, with bodies covered in gray-green scales. Their heads were shaped like Earth's ancient dinosaurs, with rows of small, sharp teeth visible when they opened their mouths. Their eyes were yellow with black slits for pupils. I am Commander Rax of the Kresh Dominion, said the largest alien. Its voice was like stones being rubbed together. This colony now belongs to us. Choi stepped forward. We are a peaceful settlement. We have no quarrel with the Kresh. The alien leaned down, its face close to Choi's. Your coalition allies have abandoned you, the Kresh commander hissed. But humans make excellent workers. Cooperate and your people will live. Within days, New Eden colony was transformed. The Kresh set up guard towers and forced humans to work in the mines and fields. The same thing happened on other human worlds. The coalition did nothing to help. 3 weeks after the first Kresh ships appeared, Earth's emergency council met in a bunker deep beneath the old city of Seoul. The room was cold and plain, with just a metal table and chairs. Admiral J looked tired. She had been awake for 3 days straight, trying to organize what was left of Earth's defenses. Give me the full report, she said. Defense Minister Yoon stood up. We've lost contact with 12 colonies. Coalition forces ignore our distress calls. The Kresh have established labor camps on every human world except Earth, Mars, and Titan. And Earth's defenses? Asked Admiral J. The coalition took most of our weapons years ago, Yoon replied. What we have left won't stop the Kresh if they come in force. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Earth would fall just like the colonies had. Admiral J looked at each face around the table. Then it's time for our final option. She pressed her palm against a hidden scanner under the table. A hidden screen lit up on the wall, showing a map of the solar system with red dots spread across it. Project Hibernation, she said. 20 years ago, Earth began preparing elite soldiers for a day like this. 500 men and women, genetically, enhanced and put into cryo-sleep. Some council members looked shocked. Others nodded. They had suspected such a program existed. Where are they? Asked Yoon. Hidden bases on Earth, Mars, and every human colony, Jay replied. The Kresh don't know they exist. The coalition never found them. Just 500 soldiers? Someone asked. Against the entire Kresh force? Jay smiled for the first time. 500 soldiers who can run faster than vehicles, lift 3 times their weight, and heal from wounds that would kill normal humans. 500 soldiers trained in combat for years before they went to sleep. She stood straighter. It's time to wake our soldiers. Initiate Protocol Lazarus. With these words, a signal went out across human space. In hidden facilities disguised as storage rooms, abandoned mines, and research stations, computers came to life. Cryo chambers began the warming process. Lights that had been dark for years glowed blue. On the colony world of Proxima B, a junior creche officer noticed strange energy readings coming from what appeared to be an abandoned human building. "Commander," he reported, "there's unusual power usage in Sector 4, a human facility that was supposed to be empty." The creche commander looked at the readings, then laughed. His sharp teeth glinted in the light. "Let them power up whatever. Outdated weapons they have," he said, dismissing the concern. "These primitives will kneel regardless." The young officer wasn't convinced. "But the readings don't match any weapons we know. It's something different." "Humans are weak," the commander insisted. "Whatever they're doing, it won't matter. Within a month, Earth itself will be ours." In the abandoned building, the first cryo chamber's lid slowly opened. A woman sat up, her eyes adjusting to the light. Her muscles showed no weakness from years of sleep. Her mind was clear. A screen on the wall displayed a simple message. "Protocol Lazarus activated. Human territories under creche occupation. Commence liberation operations." The woman smiled. The creche thought humans were weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Captain Bay opened her eyes slowly. Soft blue light filled her vision. For a moment, she wasn't sure where she was. Then it all came back. The training, the mission, the long sleep. The lid of her cryo chamber slid open with a gentle hiss. Cold air escaped around her. Bay sat up, expecting to feel weak after 15 years of sleep. Instead, energy flowed through her body. Her muscles felt strong and ready. A young man in plain clothes stood nearby, watching her with wide eyes. "You're really awake," he said, sounding amazed. The stories were true. Bay swung her legs over the side of the chamber and stood up. She was tall and moved with a grace that seemed too perfect to be natural. "Status report," she demanded, her voice rough from lack of use. The young man handed her a folded uniform. "I'm Jin, part of the Nova Terra Resistance. Creche occupation day 73. They control the main colony center and have forced most people to work in the mines." Bay nodded, taking the uniform. As she dressed quickly, she asked, "How many soldiers woke up here?" 20, including you. The others are already preparing." Jin led her to a small room where screens showed maps of the colony. 19 other men and women in matching uniforms stood looking at the displays. They all turned when Bay entered. Each had the same alert posture, the same focused eyes. "Captain," one of them said with a nod. "Good to see you again." "Lieutenant Gill," Bay replied. "Report." Gill pointed to the largest screen. "The creche have about 200 soldiers stationed in the colony center. They control the communications tower, the power plant, and the spaceport. Their commander is here." He pointed to a building at the center of the map. "Defenses?" Bay asked. "Typical creche overconfidence," Gill said with a small smile. "They don't think we're a threat. Guards are posted at major buildings, but they're not expecting any real resistance." Bay studied the map. "They don't know about us." "No, Captain. The resistance has been careful not to mention the hibernation soldiers." Bay turned to face her team. "We move at nightfall. Primary targets are communications and command. No creche calls for help get out. Teams of 4. Lieutenant Gill will assign targets." As night fell over Nova Terra colony, 20 enhanced soldiers moved through the shadows. They moved faster than normal humans, jumping over walls and climbing buildings with ease. Team 1, led by Bay herself, approached the creche command center. 4 creche guards stood at the entrance, their scaled bodies twice the size of a human's. They carried energy weapons that could cut a person in half. Bay gave a hand signal. Her 3 teammates spread out silently. The attack was over in seconds. Before the creche could even raise their weapons, the enhanced soldiers were on them. Bay moved so fast she seemed to blur. She struck one guard at the base of his neck, hitting a nerve point the team scientists had identified. The alien fell unconscious immediately. All 4 guards were down without a single shot fired. Bay entered the command center alone. Inside, More Kresh guards stood around a central table where their commander was reviewing reports. None of them noticed her at first. When the first guard saw her, he reached for his weapon. Bay was already moving. She crossed the room in 3 steps, disarming him with one hand while using her other to strike a second guard. A third guard fired his weapon, but Bay was no longer where he aimed. She appeared behind him, took his weapon, and used it to stun the remaining guards. The Kresh commander stood alone now, his yellow eyes wide with shock. He pulled out a small weapon, but Bay knocked it from his hand and pushed him against the wall. She was half his size but held him easily with her enhanced strength. Impossible, the commander sputtered as Bay secured his wrists with restraints. Humans are weak, uncoordinated. Bay looked up at the alien's reptilian face. You mistook our patience for weakness, she replied. A common error. Outside, the sounds of brief fighting echoed through the colony. Within an hour, all Kresh communication systems were disabled. Their weapons depots were captured. Their ships at the spaceport were under human control. Similar scenes played out on other human colonies. Enhanced soldiers emerged from hidden bases, working with local resistance fighters. The Kresh, who had expected to face only regular humans, were completely unprepared for these new enemies who moved too fast to track and were too strong to stop. On Earth, Admiral J received the first reports with satisfaction. Novaterra reclaimed, said the message. All Kresh forces captured or neutralized. No civilian casualties, proceeding to Phase 2. One by one, the reports came in from other colonies. The Kresh, who had laughed at human weakness, now faced defeat after defeat. Their commanders couldn't understand how humans they had easily conquered were suddenly unstoppable. They didn't know that humanity's greatest defense had been sleeping, waiting for the moment to wake up and fight back. Admiral J stood straight and proud on the bridge of the Unity, Earth's first true warship. 3 months had passed since the enhanced soldiers woke from their long sleep. 3 months of victory after victory against the Kresh invaders. Through the large window, she watched the Coalition diplomatic vessel approach. It moved slowly, almost carefully, as if afraid to seem threatening. They're requesting permission to dock, Admiral, said the communications officer. Jay nodded. Let them come. They've waited long enough. Behind her stood Captain Bay and 7 other enhanced soldiers. They wore crisp black uniforms with Earth's new symbol, a sleeping tiger now awake. The soldiers stood perfectly still, their enhanced bodies showing no sign of fatigue despite standing at attention for hours. Nervous? Jay asked quietly, turning to Bay. No, Bay replied with a small smile. But they should be. The airlock door opened with a hiss. 3 Coalition representatives entered the bridge. In the lead was a Talvan diplomat, the same species that had first contacted Earth 20 years before. His 6 eyes moved quickly around the room, pausing when they noticed the enhanced soldiers. Ambassador Moore, Admiral J said, not bothering, to bow as Coalition custom required. Welcome to the Unity. The Talvan made a gesture that might have been respect or might have been nervousness. His multiple eyes darted toward the imposing human soldiers again. Admiral J, he said. The Coalition thanks you for agreeing to this meeting. J gestured to a simple metal table. Shall we talk? The aliens sat opposite J. Captain Bay and her soldiers remained standing, their enhanced eyes missing nothing. Coalition regrets the misunderstanding regarding Earth's defensive needs, the ambassador began, his voice less confident than it had been in previous meetings. We propose a new alliance against the Kresh threat. Jay raised an eyebrow. Misunderstanding? You abandoned us when the Kresh attacked. You called us minor concerns with limited strategic value. The Talvan's skin changed color slightly. What humans had learned was embarrassment for his species. A regrettable choice of words, he said quickly. The situation has changed. The Kresh are now attacking core Coalition worlds. We must stand together. We've already pushed the Kresh back to their borders, Jay replied. All human colonies are free. What exactly does Earth gain from this alliance? Full membership, the ambassador offered quickly. Equal status with founding members. Technology exchange without restrictions. Jay leaned forward. And military? Independence? No more oversight of our defenses? Of course, the Talvan agreed too quickly. One of his companions made a small noise that might have been protest, but a look from the ambassador silenced it. Jay smiled thinly. You fear us now. The Talvan's eyes blinked in sequence. We respect Earth's unexpected capabilities. Your people called us sleeping primates, Jay said. You treated us as children, as pets. Cultural misunderstandings, the ambassador said weakly. We see now that humans are equal partners. 2 months later, the Great Hall of Coalition headquarters was filled with representatives from over 50 alien species. The same races who had once looked down on humans now watched in respectful silence as Earth's delegation entered. Captain Bay led the honor guard, 8 enhanced soldiers moving with perfect control. Their steps were exactly matched, their movements flowing like water. Even the most warrior-like coalition species seemed impressed. Ambassador Moon walked behind them, carrying the document that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. As an enhanced soldier himself, Moon could hear whispers from across the room. They move like hunting cats, one alien whispered. I heard they can break Kresh armor with their bare hands, said another. Moon reached the central table where the coalition's leaders waited. The document was placed before him. The revised Galactic Charter, with Earth listed as a founding member with full rights and privileges. He signed his name clearly. As he did, he heard a whispered conversation between 2 coalition diplomats standing nearby. His enhanced hearing picked up every word. They were never sleeping. They were waiting. A lesson we won't forget again. Moon allowed himself a small smile as he finished signing. He stood and faced the gathered aliens. On behalf of Earth and all human colonies, I accept full membership in the Galactic Coalition. Humanity looks forward to true partnership with all species. He paused for effect. We have much to offer now that we are fully awake. Later at the celebration, Admiral J found Captain Bay standing alone, watching the mixed crowd of humans and aliens. 20 years ago, they thought they had conquered us without firing a shot, Jay said. Now they treat us as equals. Bay nodded. Not just equals. Some of them are afraid. Fear isn't what we wanted, Jay replied. Respect is enough. And if they forget that respect? Bay asked. Jay looked around the room at the enhanced soldiers stationed throughout the hall, standing quiet and watchful. Then we remind them, she said simply. Earth doesn't sleep anymore. The end.